Ever notice how some people leave you feeling completely drained after just 5 minutes? Like they've literally sucked the energy right out of you. Today, we're talking about psycho vampires, those emotional energy drainers in your life. And I'm giving you 5 game-changing strategies to protect your peace without burning bridges. Let's dive in. Hey, everyone, and welcome back to Hope Regained. I'm your host, Christiane Boudreau. I'm so glad you're here today because we're tackling something that affects literally everyone, whether you know it or not. So let me paint a picture. You're having a great day, feeling good, energy's high. Then you run into that person. You know the one. Maybe it's a coworker, family member, or even a friend. You have a 10-minute conversation with them, and suddenly you feel like you need a nap, a stiff drink, or in my case, probably both. Your mood? Gone. Your energy? Completely zapped. It's like they've literally vampired the life force right out of you. Well, guess what? That's exactly what happened. And today we're talking all about psycho vampires, what they are, how to spot them, and most importantly, how to deal with them without losing your mind or your relationship. Before we jump in, if you're new here, welcome to Hope Regained. This is where we talk about real life mental health, personal growth, and finding your way back to hope when life gets really messy. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode. And hey, if you get value from today's conversation, drop a comment below and let me know your biggest takeaway. All right, let's get into it. So first things first, what exactly is a psycho vampire? Now, before you start imagining people in capes with fangs lurking in dark corners, let me clarify. Psycho vampires aren't actual vampires. Well, at least not the kind that you see in the movies anyway. They're not going to bite your neck or turn into bats. But honestly, sometimes it might be easier to deal with. A psycho vampire is someone who consistently drains your emotional and mental energy. They feed off your attention, your positivity, your time, and all of your emotional resources. And here's the kicker. Most of them don't even realize that they're doing it. These are the people who always have a crisis going on that's somehow bigger than anyone else's problems, or somebody that turns every conversation back to themselves. Then you have the ones that complain constantly, but never actually want solutions. Then there's the other ones that create drama wherever they go, or make you feel guilty for having boundaries. And then lastly, they leave you feeling exhausted, anxious, or depressed after any interactions. There are different types too. You've got the victim vampire. Everything happens to them and nothing is ever their fault. Then there's the drama vampire. If there's no chaos, well, they'll create it. The narcissistic vampire, the world revolves around them, period. The judgmental vampire, constantly criticizing everyone and everything. And the passive aggressive vampire. Oh, they are my favorite. The ones that say that they're fine while clearly being anything but. Here's an important distinction though. Having a bad day or going through a tough season doesn't make someone a psycho vampire. We all need support sometimes. The difference is consistency and reciprocity. A psycho vampire is always taking and never giving back. It's a one-way relationship where your needs, feelings, and energy really don't matter. The difference between supporting someone and being drained by someone is simple. Support flows both ways, but vampirism only takes. I remember when I first learned about this concept, I had this friend. Let's call her Sarah. Sorry, Sarah. I always seem to be picking on you, and you know who you are, and you're nothing like this. So don't take it personally. And I genuinely cared about her. But every single time we talked, it was the same pattern. She'd unload every problem, every frustration, every bit of negativity. And when I try to share what was happening in my life, she'd either change the subject back to herself or give me a dismissive response and circle right back to her drama. In fact, I remember after one visit to the house, after we'd had coffee, there were a couple of friends over, she left and called me to complain about how everybody was helping me. Nobody was helping her. The focus wasn't on her. She needed people to, and it went on. In most of our conversations, I'd end up hanging up the phone feeling like I just run a full-on marathon, completely depleted. And I felt guilty for feeling that way. I thought, I'm supposed to be a good friend. What's wrong with me? And she really did have a good heart. She was a good person. But here's what I learned. Nothing was wrong with me. I was being drained by a psycho vampire, and recognizing that was the first step to reclaiming back my energy. So let's talk about what happens when you have psycho vampires in your life. First, there's the obvious. You're constantly exhausted, not just physically tired, but that deep soul level exhaustion where you feel like you have nothing left to give. Secondly, your mental health also starts to take a hit. Anxiety goes up, depression can creep in, and you start questioning yourself, your worth, your choices. You might even start taking on their negativity as your own. Third, and this is huge, you have less energy for the people and things that actually matter. When you're being drained by psycho vampires, you don't have as much time to give to your kids, your partner, your real friends, your passions, or even yourself. And speaking of boundaries, there's one specific technique I use that works like magic every single time. I'll share that with you in just a few minutes. But first, let me tell you about the biggest mistake people make when dealing with psycho vampires. The biggest mistake is thinking you can change them or fix them. It just really doesn't happen. Listen, you can't pour from an empty cup, and you can't fix someone who doesn't think they're broken. Psycho vampires often don't even see their behavior as a problem. They're getting their needs met. Why would they change? Your job isn't to fix them. Your job is just to protect your peace. You can't set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. That's not love. That's self-destruction. How do you actually identify a psycho vampire in your life? Here are the telltale signs. Energy check. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with them. Do you feel energized and uplifted? Or do you feel drained and depleted? Your body knows before your brain even catches up. Then there's the conversations pattern. Do conversations feel balanced? Or is it always about them? Do they ask you about your life or just talk about theirs. Look for the crisis cycle. Is there always a new emergency? Always a new trauma? And does nothing ever actually get resolved before the next crisis hits? You can do the boundary test, and that is what happens when you set a boundary. Do they respect it? Or do they guilt trip you, manipulate you, or ignore it completely? The reciprocity test. Do they show up for the way you show up for them? Or is it always one-sided? The improvement factor. Do they actually want to improve their situation? Or do they just want to complain? When you offer solutions, they just shoot them all down. Here's a quick exercise. Think about the people in your life right now. Write down their names, and next to each name, write how you feel after spending time with them. Be honest. This isn't about judging them as good or bad people. Not at all. It's about acknowledging the impact they have on your energy and well-being. You might be surprised with what you discover. All right. So here's what you've been waiting for. The practical strategies to deal with psycho vampires without losing your sanity. First off, strategy number 1 is you have to set clear boundaries. This is non-negotiable. You have to set these boundaries. And here's the thing about boundaries. They're not mean. They're not selfish. They're necessary. We've done an episode on boundaries before, but I promise you, we're going to really dig down deep in the next few episodes because so many of you have told me this is a place where you really struggle. Boundaries are tough if you haven't practiced setting them before. Decide what you're willing to accept and what you're not. Maybe it's limiting phone calls to 15 minutes. And maybe it's not discussing certain topics. And maybe it's only seeing them in group settings where the energy is diffused. And then, this is crucial, you have to enforce those boundaries. Boundaries without enforcement? Well, they're just suggestions. Here's the magic phrase that I promised earlier. I have the bandwidth for X amount of time or this topic, etc. But I can't do more or go there, etc. right now. So let me put it in a sentence so you can see how it's all applied. Here's my example. I have the bandwidth for a 20-minute call, but I can't talk longer today. Or you could say, I have the bandwidth to listen about your job situation, but I can't get into relationship drama today. I'm already feeling overwhelmed. It's okay to say that. It's polite, firm, and doesn't require you to justify or over-explain. Strategy number 2, limit your availability. You don't have to be available 24/7 to anyone. You just don't. If they text you a novel of negativity at 11 p.m., you don't have to respond immediately or at all that night. If they call you and you're not in a good headspace, it's okay to let it go to voicemail. Create some distance. This might mean not answering every text immediately or scheduling specific times to connect rather than being on call and at their avail, or taking breaks from the relationship entirely if needed. I'll give you an example. My friend Sarah, that I was talking about earlier, I specifically said to her, I'm sorry, but at this time in my life, I can't handle any more. And when you're ready for help, I'm here for you. I love you dearly, but unless you're ready for a solution, I can't take this on. I just had to do it. That's where I was at the time. And sometimes it can be difficult to cut away like that, but it's necessary to maintain that sanity. And hey, let's face it, if it keeps pushing and you snap, you're going to lose that relationship anyway. So just take that break. Your peace is not a public utility. You're allowed to choose when and how much access people have to you. Strategy number 3, don't get stuck into the drama. Psycho vampires thrive on reactions. They want you to get emotional, to engage, or to feed into the chaos. Don't do it. Stay neutral. You can be empathetic without being enmeshed into everything. And you can acknowledge their feelings without taking them on. Phrases like, that sounds really difficult, or I can see why you'd feel that way, or wow, that's a lot. These acknowledge their feelings without absorbing them. You're not dismissing them, but you're also not diving into the drama pool with them. Strategy number 4, redirect and refocus. When they're on a negativity spiral, sometimes you can gently redirect. I hear you're struggling with your job. Have you thought about what your ideal situation would look like? Or that sounds frustrating. What do you think your next step might be? Or if they're not receptive to solutions or positive reframing, that tells you a lot. Some people don't want to get better. They want company in their misery. Strategy number 5, know when to walk away. Here's the hard truth. Sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is reduce contact or end the relationship entirely. I know that's tough to hear, especially if it's family or a longtime friend. But your mental health matters. Your peace matters. Your energy matters. You can love someone from a distance and you can wish someone well without being in their daily orbit. If someone consistently disrespects your boundaries, drains your energy, and refuses to meet you halfway, you have permission to step back. Letting go of toxic people isn't cruel. It's self-care. You're not abandoning them. You're choosing yourself. So here's the thing about psycho vampires. They're everywhere. You're going to encounter them at work, in your family, in your friend groups, and maybe even in your romantic relationships. But you don't have to let them drain you dry. You have the power to set boundaries, to protect your energy, to choose who gets access to your time and emotional resources. That's not selfish at all. That's wise. Remember, you can be compassionate without being a doormat. You can be kind without being a martyr. And you can support people without sacrificing yourself. Your energy is precious. Protect it fiercely. Before we wrap up, I want to remind you that we have a free worksheet for this episode available on our website at www.hoperegain.com/blog. It's got reflection questions, boundary setting scripts, and an energy audit tool to help you identify and deal with the psycho vampires in your life. Go download it. It's going to be super helpful. And hey, if this episode resonated with you, do me a favor, share it with someone who needs to hear it. It's about lifting each other up and supporting each other to live a happier life. It's got to start here for it to spread out. Leave a comment telling me about a time you dealt with a psycho vampire. Tell us how, the solution, share it. Again, it's about being a community to lift each other up. And subscribe if you haven't already, because we've got some incredible episodes coming up that you won't want to miss. Remember, no matter how drained you feel right now, hope can be regained. You are stronger than you think. You deserve peace, and you absolutely have the power to create a life filled with people who add to your energy rather than deplete it. You're worth it. Thanks for hanging out with me today, and I'll see you in the next episode.